Hello there, Chelsea fans. You're welcome to the channel. So today, lots of Chelsea, not so much to talk about, but very important sort of news items to talk about, topics to talk about today. So first off, right off the bat, we have to talk about a bid rejected by Chelsea from Borussia Dortmund. So I'll just put this on the screen. I think apparently Borussia Dortmund put a bid in of 15 or 17 million pounds. That's obligation. Rather, I'll take it from the top. It is an obligation. It is a loan with obligation to buy, and then for 50 million pounds. And Chelsea just quickly rejected it because they felt it was insulting. Now, there are two things I want to talk about. The two sort of perspective to this. So, firstly, for me, I think when it comes to Dortmund, German clubs, Italian clubs, they always know how to sell players. So you tell players from 60, 70, they're always insistent on the evaluation of players. Look at what RB Leipzig did with Benjamin Sesko from Leipzig. Look at what um, the players for Juventus, AC Milan, they've done with players that they've sold. So they always hold on fast to the evaluation. But when it comes to signing players, they always played broke. They always play broken. So they either go with, oh, we need to play on a loan deal, then have an option to buy the player, and then maybe an obligation. But for me, I think that's a bit too low, maybe 20, 25 million pounds, and then a hefty sell-on clause. I think for me that would work. Although to be fair to Dortmund, in this deal, we were looking at including a hefty sell-on clause. But Chelsea primarily are looking for a sale. Now, for me, if Chelsea are able to get a sale, a loan with an obvious obligation to buy, then I think that would work. But by obvious obligation to buy, I don't want it where you have, okay, for £2 million you can trigger, you can pay a fine and decide not to buy it. That's not one thing I want to see. I want to see, come the end of the loan, once the loan ends, instantly the obligation to buy is triggered, and then the player can go on, and then the player joins Dortmund. So that's one thing that I would want in a loan deal, but it's been rejected. So those opinions on it. How do you feel about this rejection? But on the flip side of it, on the other side of it, I do not want Chelsea to, overprice Carney Chukwuemeka. I don't want Chelsea to, overvalue Carney Chukwuemeka. And we all know he's already upset with Chelsea and doesn't want to be at Chelsea anymore. And that's what you get with the valuation of players. Now, it's a double-edged sword when you treat players the way Chelsea treat players sometimes. As fans, we're like, go to the club, you're not good enough, leave the club and all that stuff, or let him go, we've got better players. But when you make players feel like they're not wanted, they're not good enough, you make it obvious. The would-be buyers, like your Dortmund in this case, maybe an RB Leipzig, that have also been reported to be interested, we have a look and say, come on, this club doesn't really value this player. That means he's not good enough. So why should I pay, as a Dortmund, for instance, pay over the top to Chelsea to get this deal done? So that's the thing. A lot of fans would say, oh, it's good, keep him on the bench, let him rot on the bench, treat him this way, treat him that way. When you do that, you reduce the valuation of the player. Because let's get this right, a lot of Chelsea fans, a lot of Premier League fans are a bit uppity when it comes to other leagues. We feel like those clubs should just take our worst players and just deal with them and just be a receptacle for our players. But that seriously is not something that's going to work. That's not going to work for anybody. And that's not going to work for those clubs. So because those clubs, they have their own objectives, they have their own goals. So when you make a player, when you make it seem, you make it over that this player, we don't really value him that much, then you begin to get those sort of valuations. Manchester United paid 75 million euros for what's it for his face now for Sesko, and one of the contributing reasons to that was because RB Leipzig made it seem like it's a player they really need. It's to value this player. We're not willing to sell. So to get him off our hands, you have to pay premium pound to get him. So, but unfortunately, the way Chelsea has treated Carney Chukwuemeka, you might like Maresca. I do like Maresca. He's helped Chelsea, win the Conference League. Kudos to him. He's gone on to win the Club World Cup and he's looking sharp and serious going into the season. And I like that. I will be talking about that later on, in the show on the channel. But the way he treated Carney Chukwuemeka has contributed to, how the clubs have valued him, including Dortmund. But there are reports of other clubs who are interested, like I've talked about your RB Leipzig, that club that are interested. He's one of the players that they looked and say maybe we could get that player. Maybe we could have him as a part exchange or make way for the Xavi Simons deal. So those opinions on that one. Say hi, good evening, thanks for the show. May know about Xavi Simons is ready to come or not yet to Chelsea. We'll just hang on, David. We'll be getting to Xavi Simons. I think that will be tied to the Nkunku topic. So just hang on for a bit and I will get to the Xavi Simons topic. So still talking about Carney Chukwuemeka, there are other options where you could go to. They talked about West Ham United probably being interested, but I think maybe that could be a loan, and I don't really want a loan to a Premier League club. If you must get Carney Chukwuemeka as a Premier League club, you must pay full price to get him. So just my opinions on that rejection of the bid from Dortmund. And then another way to look at it as well could be, of course, they've made their initial offer. They could very well go to making a second offer, which would be an obligation to buy guaranteed or £25 million buying the player outright because they like the player. Carney Chukwuemeka likes Dortmund. He's played there before. He's really desperate to remain at Dortmund. So fair play to him and fair to them. Hopefully they come up with another bid. Negotiations are just starting, in my opinion, because they were initially we had exploratory talks from Dortmund, indicating their interest in Carney Chukwuemeka. But right now they've made an offer. So this is the first official offer. Let's wait. Maybe they make it an actual second offer that may be more enticing to Chelsea. Now we'll talk about Nkunku. Bayern Munich are interested in Nkunku, especially since they have sold Kingsley Coman to Al Nassr. And seriously, Al Nassr are building a kind of Galacticos, a mini Galacticos in that Saudi Pro League. They've got João Felix, they've got of course Cristiano Ronaldo. Now they've got Kingsley Coman, they've got Mane as well there. So I think they're really going all out. And if they don't win the Asian Champions League, then that means a really disappointing season for them, in my opinion. I think that's what they're going for, hoping to win the Asian Champions League. But that's a different topic. I digress. So, so that's a topic. I digress. So, speaking about the Xavi Simons Nkunku thing, Bayern Munich are interested. They want to get him. They want to sign him. They've had discussions with him on personal terms. Wouldn't be an issue, like I talked about on previous videos, and Fabrizio Romano has spoken about them as well. But now it seems like their interest is more concrete, and hopefully they can put in the bidding and Nkunku can go. Now, selling Nkunku is really, really important because it opens the door. Not just selling Nkunku per se, but outgoings is really, really important. I know for Chelsea fans, outgoings, aren't really super exciting for us. We're more interested in incomings, young, exciting players to come in and join Maresca's side that we can get excited about. We're looking forward to getting Xavi Simons, but outgoings must happen. Players will be sold before you can get the targets you want to get right now in. So Nkunku, let's see what happens to Bayern Munich, and apparently putting the bid for him. So apparently agreed personal terms, with him, and what's left is to put in an actual bid. And like I said with Carney Chukwuemeka, one thing I don't want is for Chelsea to price him out of a move. I don't want that at all, because right now some players you just have to cut your losses. That's it. Especially the players that you've made look, like they don't have any value. For instance, Cole Palmer. If anyone is coming in for Cole Palmer right now, it's going to be like £250 million. That's if Chelsea would even entertain any sort of negotiation. It'll probably be £250 million. And the club coming in would actually consider it. Now, they may not put in £250 million as a bid, but they may come with 150, 160, 170, because everyone knows he's super valuable to Chelsea, he's super important to Chelsea. And on the flip side of it, players like Carney Chukwuemeka, players like Christopher Nkunku, when you make people feel like they're not valued, and then you also overtly make would-be buyers, other clubs know that you don't value these players, you want them gone, you just want them off your wage books, of your wage bill, then they would come in with some sort of offers that are premium prime offers. And at that point, as a club, you have to think to yourself, what do you want to do? Do you want to be stubborn? Do you want to hold out for, 50, 55, 60 million pounds for Nkunku? Or you just want to get him off your wage books? You don't want a toxic dressing room. You don't want anyone sulking around. You get something for the player. You get his wage off your wage bill. And then that allows you to sign more players. So what would you do? What's your opinions on that one? Do you think Chelsea should just accept any offer that comes from Bayern Munich that is at least 25, 30, maybe 40 million pounds? I think between 40 and 45 million pounds from Nkunku would be okay, in my opinion. But I'd like to know what you think about that. If you're joining the show, please subscribe to the channel and do share this video to people you feel will love sort of content like this. I'm hoping by this weekend, by the time Chelsea plays, we would have gotten up to 200 subscribers on this channel. So keep smashing the like button, keep hitting the subscription button as well. But let's go now. So now to answer David's question, and I've talked about it. Says, hi, good evening. Thanks for the show. May I know about Xavi Simons? He's ready to is he ready to come or not here to Chelsea? Now, the reports that we've been getting, from Fabrizio, from David Ornstein, and other sort of transfer insiders is that personal terms have been agreed between Chelsea and Xavi Simons. And what's just left to do is get some outgoings gone, sell some players, then Chelsea will then go all in for Xavi Simons. We've also heard the likes of Bayern Munich being interested in Xavi Simons, but allegedly the report from his camp is that they have told Bayern Munich that he is set on Chelsea. So that's good news. So Chelsea would have to sell the likes of Nkunku first, the likes of Veiga, the likes of Carney Chukwuemeka. When they're out the door, then you get the deal for Xavi Simons wrapped up quickly. Because according to reports from both from Ornstein and Fabrizio, is that the negotiations for the player has really are in advanced stages. I know for someone like me, and I know a lot for Chelsea fans, that's frustrating. Like, you've been hearing there's progress and there's advancement in negotiations and discussions, and yet you don't see any move, you don't see any progress. But I guess that's just what it is. With the whole PSR thing, clubs now are really, really careful how they do deals, as opposed to just doing a swap and pay maybe 10 million pounds or 20 million euros there. What they probably want to do is now treat certain deals as separate deals. So the sale of Nkunku, I feel, will then trigger, the purchase of Xavi Simons. And then as well, the sale of Carney Chukwuemeka, at least the outgoing of Carney Chukwuemeka, could then trigger the purchase of Garnacho. However I feel about it, like if you've been watching this channel, I'm not the biggest fan of a Garnacho sort of deal. But if he comes in, we'll support him as usual. So you need outgoings to happen before certain players, come in. And now, so speaking about players that need to come in, as part of Enzo Maresca's press conference, he talked about Chelsea needing a centre back. He says the board knows how he feels and knows what he thinks about a centre defender. And then when he was asked if you're talking about if what he's trying to do is get internal options or get players from outside, he said right now he's working on internal options, but they're looking to get, he would like to get a centre back. So from the tenor of how he spoke, I think what he's trying to say is that I want a centre back signed. He went all technical about having to start attacks from the left, and the only person that can do it is Tosin. That's why you need to get Colwill. You need to get an actual Colwill replacement in. So they've talked about Nkapie. For me, I think probably it's a left-sided centre back, so it can work. But I I just feel like that in-house solutions, like we've got Chalobarin, we've got Josh Archiampongin, and someone that I think Enzo Maresca just seems to look over because in the press conference, time and time again, he just ignored or decided not to mention his name. He called all the players. He called Badiashile. He called what's his face? He called Tosin. He even called Cole, who was out injured, but he didn't mention Aaron Anselmino. So for some reason, I think Aaron Anselmino may, unfortunately, have fallen into the class of player that Enzo Maresca doesn't fancy, which I think is unfair in my opinion. So KLO says how much we get for Ghana and Simmons combined. I think for Garnacho, Chelsea have been holding out for £30 million to pay to pay £30 million to Manchester United for Garnacho, but apparently Manchester United are holding out for £50 million or thereabout. I don't see how he's worth £50 million. I know this is a crazy market though, a crazy transfer market where you have the likes of Benjamin Sesko going for 75 million euros. So odd 65, 67 million pounds, which just madness to me. So maybe that's why they think they can get £50 million for Garnacho. But I think that's just craziness in my opinion. And maybe it will be something in and around 45, maybe 40, between 35 and 40. Both parties can meet somewhere in the middle there. So maybe that's what would happen with Garnacho, somewhere in the middle, because the higher ups seem keen on Garnacho. So the likes of Lawrence Stewart, Paul Winstanley, they're keen on him. So that deal would happen one way or the other. And Manchester United know the player wants to come to Chelsea, only wants to come to Chelsea. He doesn't want to play for them anymore. And Amorim, just like Maresca, because that's what these young managers do nowadays. Maresca has made it obvious that Garnacho isn't in his plans, because in them days, the likes of your Mourinho's, the likes of your Ferguson's, they had a way of making you feel like they still had value for a player, even if they wanted the player gone. But now these young managers, they just make it over. They make it obvious rather, that they don't want the player. The same thing. That's the same thing Arteta did with Aubameyang. He made it clear that he didn't want him in his team. And when you make it that obvious, then teams are not going to come in to say, you know what, this player I don't want, this player you don't value, and we are going to pay top dollar for him. No club is going to do that. Even in everyday life, people don't do that. You know, if say you have a shirt and then you leave the shirt on the floor, you leave it hanging out by your window, you can come up to someone and say you want to sell that shirt for £60. You can probably say, oh, all right, maybe £10, maybe £5, because you haven't shown that you have value for that shirt. Same thing with players. I know they're human beings, but you don't compare them to any shirt. But the illustration matches. If you don't show value for the player, if you make it clear that the player is not in your plan, like how Ruben Amorim has made it clear that Garnacho is not in his plan, then you can't turn around to one premium price for the player. Same thing with Carney Chukwuemeka. You can't have him play just a couple of minutes in Conference League and then you load him off in January, and expect clubs to come in to say we're going to pay you £40 million for the player. No, they're going to drag it, and maybe the loan deal that Chelsea don't want to get, the loan deal that they've rejected now, they may have to do it come the end of the season. I think come towards the end of the transfer window being closed. We end up being Carney Chukwuemeka, probably they let him go on loan again and have an obligation to buy for maybe £20 million, because you've told the whole world that you don't really value him that much. Same thing with Nkunku. You've shown the whole world that you don't really value him that much, because though he played Conference League games, when it came to the crunch time of those Conference League games from semi-finals upwards, then you dumped him. You turned him into a bench player as well. So the likes of Bayern aren't going to pay you premium price. Chelsea fans, I'm sorry, that's just how it works. That's just how it works. We're not going to get premium price for Carney Chukwuemeka. Definitely not going to get premium price for Nkunku. We get a decent enough price. So at this point in time, I just think What's more important is to get players off the books, get them off the books, get something for them, get them off the books, so you don't and keep paying their wages week in week out. So no matter how you feel about a player, no matter whether he trains with the team, as long as he's still registered to your club, whether he plays or not, you still have to pay him. Maybe he doesn't get his match bonuses, but you still have to pay him those weekly wages, 120, 150. And I think it's better to get maybe £20 million for Carney Chukwuemeka and have his wage bill off your books and let that be the responsibility of Dortmund or an RB Leipzig. Same thing with Christopher Nkunku, in my opinion. So if you just joined the show, we're talking about Bayern Munich's interest in Nkunku. Apparently, personal terms have been agreed between parties, that is Nkunku's camp and Bayern Munich. And Chelsea rejected a bid from Dortmund, which was an initial loan with an obligation to buy in and around 15 million pounds. And Chelsea obviously rejected that. Then also talking about Veiga, there are separate, different clubs interested in Veiga. And Veiga is just that guy he's open to going anywhere. I'm guessing probably he's super confident in his ability and feels like he would play well in any league, play well, in any club. So his interest from Benfica, his interest from Juventus, he's keen on just leaving. They talk about reintegrating him. I don't think that's at all possible, in my opinion. I just don't think that's possible because, again, I'll go back to that point. Sound like a broken record, but that's the truth. If you treat someone the way Maresca has treated Veiga, now as fans, you may say, yeah, go Maresca. We want to see a strong-willed coach who knows what he wants to do, who is very straight to the point, matter of fact. Yeah, you love it as fans. You cheer for it as fans. But what that then means for the player is he's no longer keen on making any sacrifices for you. If you've pushed him out if he no longer trains with the regular group, his head will be set on leaving. And even if you make him play via his contract, then there will be a problem. He wouldn't be committed 100% to what you want to do. So that's what Maresca has caused. Like I said, the likes of Ferguson, Mourinho, these old school coaches, they just had a way of making, clubs outside feel like they valued players, especially players they knew they had to sell. But because when you make a player feel like when you undervalue a player, it just immediately says to buying clubs, to would-be buying clubs, this player is not of great value, and we can really nick a bargain come the end or near the close of the transfer window. That's just my opinion. So Kielo says Chukwuemeka and Veiga are good enough to start for us. Sad to see them go. Yeah, really sad to see these players go. Carney Chukwuemeka, I think injury was the bane of him, under Mauricio Pochettino. And I don't think he was given time to recover and properly be reintegrated to the team by Maresca. I just think Maresca just went into this young manager mode of, okay, Cole Palmer is my guy. No other person should be near there. So Carney Chukwuemeka, I'm never going to look at you. You've been injured a couple of times, so I'm not going to look at you. You're gone. Nkunku, you're not going to play. João Felix, you're not going to play. So that's what he's done. And that's one thing I'm saying, that if you're interested in Xavi Simons, I hope Enzo Maresca doesn't see Xavi Simons as some sort of defensive midfielder, one weird deep line playmaker type of thing, or see him as some sort of left winger, because he's not. Xavi Simons is a 10. So if Enzo Maresca going into this 2025-2026 season sees, Cole Palmer as that ultimate number 10, sees him as Superman that no one can bench, should never be benched, fine. They don't waste resources on a Xavi Simons. Because if he's going to go the same way, like he went last season, João Felix didn't play, Nkunku didn't play, Carney Chukwuemeka well and truly shown out for the team, then he should, then Xavi Simons should not be got. But if he has a mindset like I have, which is this is a new season, obviously you're heading into the Champions League, which unlike the Conference League, you can't just put B players, you can't just put academy players and expect to get a result. and especially this with this new format of the Champions League is really grueling. So you need to have moments where you rest Cole Palmer, just like every other member of the squad. You need to have moments where Cole Palmer can be on the bench for a certain game, Javi Simon starts, or Cole Palmer can start, and then Javi Simon comes on 20 odd minutes, 25 odd minutes to go. Or you have a game versus, let's say, an Arsenal on the weekend, and you have a Champions League fixture. Javi Simons can start that Champions League fixture, and then Champions League, the league game against Arsenal, you have Cole Palmer play. If he has that mindset, then Javi Simons should come in. Javi Simons is a 10. It's not a left winger. The only way he can be on that left kind of is if Chelsea wants to play with 3 10s, just like we used to do with Hazard, Mata, and Hazard, Mata, and Oscar. Just like we used to do in them days. You had the 3 of them behind the striker, and you let your fullbacks overlap. Then that would make sense. So Veiga looked like the prototype of what Maresca would want. Big, strong defender centrally, has enough pace to play out wide, as out wide left centre back. So I don't know how he just fell out with the club. Up to this point, I can't quite comprehend it. I can't quite understand how this has happened. I can't quite understand how we've got to this point where the relationship is just broken. Because he was always smiley, chummy, and all. I think I know. I'll take that back. I think I know. It's when you treat a player in a certain way, he's going to leave. That's it. We as fans, we're loyal to the club, we love the club, want the club to succeed. But these players, this is their career, so you can't just toss and throw them about. They would want to leave. So I think Veiga is going to go, so that's fine. And then some people have been saying Josh Archiampong should be sent out on loan. For me, I don't understand it. I don't get why you send Josh on loan. Now, I'm not one of those Cobham guys where everybody from Cobham must play. Everybody from Cobham must be in the team. But when you bring a player to give him minutes, maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes off the bench, and that player comes in and shows up and shows out and plays on the pitch and plays like he belongs, then you begin to take the player seriously. And I think in the moments where Josh Archiampong has been given opportunity to play, he's shown that, yes, I belong. He's not looked like, who is that academic kid playing that? No, he looks like, like someone who was signed for £30 million and he's playing well. So by the conference league games, he played well. Even the game he came on against Spurs under Mauricio Pochettino, like a couple of minutes, he looked good in that game as well. So he's been improving each time he's been given the opportunity to play. Josh Archiampong, he's shown that, I really mean to be here. I really deserve to be here. The Bayer Leverkusen game, preseason game, he was very good. He made one mistake. Even experienced defenders make mistakes. So I don't get why you want him out on loan. But I think he is in, Tosin is in, Chalobah is in, Aaron Anselmino is what I don't get. I don't understand why Maresca sees him the way he sees him, or why he doesn't see him. Because this press conference, in the post-match or rather pre-match press conference for the game versus Bournemouth on Sunday, he mentioned every other centre back, but didn't mention Aaron Anselmino. And I keep saying Aaron Anselmino is a highly rated centre back, a highly rated youngster, and this team has been built on signing highly rated young players. So why is it the exception? Why is it the one that Maresca, for some reason, doesn't seem to want to give an opportunity? I've said it, the only time young players get an opportunity to play is when, unfortunately, someone gets injured or someone is suspended. Then the player can come in and show what he can do. Now, the way Enzo Maresca answered questions in the press conference, he just showed that he wants to get, he wants a centre back actually signed, which is odd to me. You had Mamadou Sarr, but anyway, Mamadou Sarr is not going to come back. He just came and went alone. So it appears to me that Enzo Maresca, if he has his way, he would rather sign a centre back. than fully embracing an in-house internal option. That's the way I say it. So if you're just joining the stream, talking about Nkunku to Bayern Munich, personal terms supposedly agreed between uh, Bayern and Nkunku, but no concrete offer made yet to Chelsea. But I think that's a deal that could happen, and I think it should happen because if Nkunku goes, then we can get our Javi Simons. But if he doesn't go, and you don't have any other significant outgoings, then it makes it a whole lot tricky. It makes it really, really tricky to get in your Ganacho that some people want. I don't want him, but it seems like that's who we're going to get. Javi Simons as well. It makes it tricky to get Javi Simons in as well. And Nico Jackson is someone that, for some reason, the interest around Nico Jackson have seemed to die down and fizzled out for some reason. Don't quite get what's happening with that one. Will Newcastle come in for Nicolas Jackson again and make an offer? Let's see what happens. And then we'll also talk about Chelsea rejecting a bid for Dortmund from Dortmund for Carney Chukwuemeka. The player is desperate. Carney Chukwuemeka is desperate to remain at Dortmund because apparently he had a good time there at Dortmund. He wants to continue there. So, what do you think about Chelsea even rejecting the bid? Do you think Chelsea have accepted that £50 million bid or thereabout? And not exactly immediately, but a loan deal with an obligation to buy. Now, for me, I think that £50 million is a bit low, but I understand why Dortmund have done that. It's their first, actual bid. There's always been exploratory talks, but now it's their actual bid. It's always funny, exploratory talks, and then you come with a bid that the other party doesn't want. But it's their initial bid, so expecting something a bit higher. But like I said on top of the show, I don't want anything. I don't want Chelsea to overprice Carney Chukwuemeka, and then you act so smartly towards the end of the transfer window, you end up outsmarting yourself because you just send him out on a mere loan again. So that's something you don't want. So that bid was rejected. Hopefully, a new bid comes in, and then of course Veiga, he seems open to go anywhere. It's just for Chelsea to agree a deal with the Benfica, for instance, or Juventus. I think AC Milan is a club as well that he can go to. And it's just so unfortunate that he didn't work at Chelsea because he has everything, I think, to be a successful centre back at Chelsea. So, but that hasn't worked. Now, talking about some things I took from the post or rather pre-match conference with Enzo Maresca, they asked him about Arne Slot. That Arne Slot said Chelsea should have won the league last season, and Maresca essentially said he wants to take it game by game and he's not playing those mind games. And fair play, you have to take the game by game. Although I would say Chelsea have been impressive, the Club World Cup, the preseason game versus Bayer Leverkusen, and AC Milan were really impressive in my opinion. But still, I feel the team is shot in a lot in one main area. I would say that's goalkeeping. That's the main area. Centre back, not so much. Maybe you get one in. No, that's not a problem for me. But it's just that João Pedro has been fantastic so far. But the question is, can he be consistent in the Premier League? That's the next question to answer. If he can be consistent in the Premier League to give you maybe 20, 22, 25 goals, Premier League goals, and then maybe Liam Delap comes in with between the 10 to 15, which I think is doable because he scored 12 for Ipswich, so he definitely can score 15 goals for Chelsea. So if you have that kind of output from those players, and then Cole Palmer coming in, maybe hits another 15, 20 goals, then maybe Chelsea could be in with a little title shout. But for me, my expectations this season for Chelsea right now is just to be the best of the rest. Yes, I would like to say Chelsea are in the title race. I would like to say Chelsea should definitely be competing with Liverpool, going to Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal. I would love to say that because I'm super, super competitive. But the way things are right now, I just think that Chelsea would be the best of the rest, or should be the best of the rest. That would be the sign of progress. You finish third or you finish fourth, and you have a winning record against every single team beneath you. Every single team beneath you. I don't care if it's a Bournemouth, I don't care if it's a Manchester United, I don't care if it's Spurs or whatever. every single team beneath you have a winning record. So that is, you're drawing and you're winning. So 4 points minimum from those teams beneath you. That's what I'm expecting from Chelsea this season, And then you finish fourth, you finish third comfortably. So maybe with 5 games to go in the season, you're comfortably seated in 5th or 4th, and you have maybe an 8-point, 10-point gap between yourself and the 5th place team and the 4th place team. That's what I would see as, success, and of course, a domestic trophy this season. And of course, going as far as possible in the Champions League. I don't want any early exits. So for me, that would be success for me this season. But if things pan out in certain ways where Liverpool are just shockingly horrible, Man City has another slump, and then Arsenal, then that provides an opportunity for Chelsea to take advantage. And I just hope if that happens, Chelsea should be in good enough form to take advantage of it. And when you're the best of the rest, you definitely should be in good enough form to take advantage of any slip from a Liverpool, a Man City, and an Arsenal. Arsenal will always slip up anyway. So that's my take on that one. And then about the Crystal Palace game, of course, that game is going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. Anybody expecting any 5-0, 6-0 drop-in, just shelve it. Shelve it. That's not going to happen. I would love it. I would love it to be 5-0, with 30 minutes into the first half. I would love that, but it's not going to happen. It's not just going to happen. The way Glasner has set up his team with three centre backs, 5 at the back overall, the speed of Ismail Assar, the creativity of Eberezer in midfield if he's not sold, Mateta, who I think is an underrated striker. The way they're set up to give Chelsea problems. Now, I think Chelsea should have too much and be able to win that game, maybe 2-0, 2-1, 3-1 type of thing. But I don't think it would be an absolute landslide where Chelsea just absolutely tonk and smash Crystal Palace. I hope that happens, but that's not something I think would happen. So Maresca says it's going to be a tough game, and of course it will. Kudos to Glasner. The way he set up his team right now, they're going to be really tough. They won FA Cup against Man City. They were on a winning run, and then they won the Charity Shield against Liverpool, coming from 2 goals down, to win penalties. So, and they have the tools to really cause Chelsea problems. So, for me, I think it's going to be a tough game. And that's a game that I would like to see Cole Palmer in general, obviously, and Reece James. I would like Reece James starting ahead of Gusto in that game, because I think there'll be actual defending to do. And I don't really think Reece James should be forced into midfield. I just want to see, a normal, regular 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, with Enzo and Caicedo, or Caicedo and Esugo, or Caicedo and Andre Santos in that midfield. Because right now you've got balance in the midfield. You don't need to find balance from your fullbacks. So that's how I look at it. And then talking about signings and players being signed and players being potentially sold, potentially bought. One deal that's done that I don't think it feels like a new signing, but it feels like a very important signing. It is indeed a very important signing, and that is Cucurella signing a new deal, or rather signing a deal or contract extension with Chelsea. That is a very good one, because right now, remember those days though where everyone wanted Cucurella out of the building? Not good enough, let him go, waste of £65 million. But he's come now and he's proven right now. I think he is the best left back in the Premier League, and that's not close. And I also think there's solid argument to say he's the best left back, in the world, at least in Europe. Because how do you rate best in anything, especially fullbacks, when you can do 2 things very well, which is you can attack excellently, you can defend excellently. That's why when people try to compare Trent and with James, I just think people are being silly. because Trent Alexander-Arnold, he can attack, not as well as even with James, if I'm honest, but he can attack. He has those a beautiful, exquisite passes, but defending, no way. So Mendes for PSG, because I know that's the name that will readily come up in the lips of people when you're talking about best left back in the world. Mendes is very good going forward, but defending, it lacks awareness. And when you lack awareness and have lack of positional IQ, then you can't be the best in the world. He's in a very good team that you can argue maybe is the best in the world, but I don't think he is the best in the world. He's not even the best fullback in that team. The best fullback in that PSG team is Hakimi, although he's right fullback. So, as I say, so Cucurella for me, I think, is the best left back in the world, and he fits perfectly into Maresca's system. He's the one that from day one understood that assignment of an inverted fullback. When Mauricio Pochettino, implemented it in the game versus West Ham 2 seasons ago, he quickly adapted to it like fish to water. So, and he's proven that he can do that role very well. So he defends, he attacks, he has that, mad spirit in a good way that just upsets opponents, but makes his teammates and fans love him because of the excellent job he does. So I think that's a brilliant signing, in my opinion. Brilliant that his contract rather has been extended by the club, so brilliant in that regard. And then as for centre backs, let's talk about Maresca said Wesley Fofana could be in the match day squad on Sunday. Now, so for me, that is not the worst news in the world, but my opinion on Wesley Fofana is this: his minutes should be super managed. Even if the doctors, the medical scientists, and whatever, health scientists, and whatever, come up to say he's fully fit, 100%, he now has vibranium in his bones, adamantium in his bones, he should still be managed one game a week. So you pick the game. Maybe you play in Champions League, you play just the Champions League game and just leave it at that, or you play one league game and leave it at that. His minutes should seriously be managed. And if he picks up another long-term injury again, then I think nurse him back to health and then sell him. That's it, because he's just been super unavailable. He brings a different dynamic to the team when he's available, because when you look at that defense, I think he is about the only one that can get the ball and carry the ball from defense into the opposition half, close to their own goal. He's about the only centre back. I think Josh Archampong can do that, but right now Wesley Fofana is about the only centre back that has the bravery to do that. But his injury record, if he could play for 4, 5, 6 games and then he picks up a knock from nowhere and is out for 2 to 3 months. So now, Maresca said he will possibly be in that, possibly in the squad for the game. So let's see what happens if indeed he gets to start. And then, of course, you have your Tosin there. You have your Tosin. I don't know if Aaron Anselmino will be part of that team because he just glazed, or I won't say glazed over, he just didn't even mention it. He mentioned every other player that's available to play, apart from your Veiga, your Disasi, that you're expecting to leave. He even mentioned Badiashile. He even mentioned Badiashile. Badiashile, could be involved. So for me, the Badiashile thing, I don't get it. I don't get Badiashile being still at Chelsea. I don't get it. So people like it, some people rate him, but I don't. But what's most important that the manager rates him, and hopefully, if he plays on Sunday, he gets to actually play well. That's the only thing I can just hope and pray for. So if you're joining the show, thanks for joining the show. Please hit the subscribe button. Hopefully, we're hoping to hit 200 subscribers on Sunday by the start of the match. And also, if you're enjoying the content, please smash the like button and do share the video to people who feel love this content, especially other Chelsea fans as well. And just to say, once the game is done, I think we should all be here and have a discussion about the game, and hopefully it's a win against Crystal Palace. Have a back and forth discussion about starting lineup, who played well, who didn't play well, who have player ratings as well. And we'd like to have live fan reaction. You can come and join the call and have a discussion with me what your thoughts were or your thoughts are on the game when it's done. So I think that's all we have today. But just to run through everything again, talk about Nkunku, agreeing personal terms with Bayern Munich. How you feeling about that? For me, I feel like that's good. That's good enough. And 40 million, 45 million pound offer from Bayern Munich, I think that would be good enough in my books. But who knows what the sporting directors would want? And the bid rejected by Chelsea from Dortmund, initial loan with an obligation to buy from Dortmund for about 50 million pounds. I just think that's way too low. But I get why they've made such a low ball offer because of how Chelsea, in their own way, have valued player. Veiga is open to any move that comes. And also for me, I think Disasi as well should be a player that should be leaving. And then we also talked about Maresca's press conference. He hinted at wanting to sign a defender because he tried to be political about it. Said, "Oh, I wanted a centre back. The board knows what I want, what I think about a centre back. We're looking at internal options, but we need a centre back." I know he doesn't want to make it too say it overtly and go crazy about it on the conference, but you just know from his demeanor and the way he was speaking, you knew he wasn't really keen on embracing internal solutions. He's more focused on Chelsea signing a new centre back, and fair play to that. So but I think for me, Josh, Wesley, Tosin, Chaloba, as a combination, Aaron and Semina as well, that he just didn't mention, when Fofana, can all contribute to that centre back, in my opinion, to that centre back issue, and be the centre back solution, in my opinion. So that's the opinions on on everything else. Let me know in the chat. And thanks so much for watching. Thanks for hitting the subscription bell and hitting the like button, and for sharing this video. And I'll see you hopefully on that video tomorrow, and as well at the end of the game on Sunday versus Crystal Palace. So stay well and stay blessed. Bye-bye.